Tied with Michael Vick for the most double-triple games in NFL history. We're now joined by Fox Sports NFL analyst Michael Vick. Mike, good to have you with us this morning. So I think we should start with you. Could you compare where Lamar is in his third year to where you were in your third year?
Let me just start off by saying this. I got Cam coming for my all-time rushing title. Lamar getting a double-triple every other week, it seems like. And in about another year or so, all my records will be obsolete. So let me just put that out there. But you know, Lamar in his third year, you know, he's just scratching the surface on how good he can be. And, you know, his potential and his ceiling is so high. I think every week for him is a learning experience, and he's just continued to get better and better in his role as the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens. But when I think about my third year, even though I was sidelined and injured, with a broken ankle, I was challenged by Dan Reeves to learn to match fronts with coverages. And even though I wasn't getting the physical reps, I was getting all the mental reps. And thank God at the end of the year, I was able to come back and help my team, who was, I think at the time, maybe we might have been, 4-8. You know, have a good, complete and have a subpar season. I think we finished 4-1. So I learned a little bit. I felt like I got better, but ultimately I didn't maximize my full potential that year as Lamar Jackson is doing right now. And Lamar, every game is crucial for his development. I think he's getting better and better each and every game, and I think he's understanding more about the game, which is very important. When you're so young, you can pull and pick and choose, how, you want to go about your growth, what you want to learn, what you want to get better at each and every day. And I think Lamar is taking advantage of that, and still got to give credit to the coaches around him, the Greg Romans and James Urbans, who's in that quarterback room every day helping this man develop and understand, what he needs to get out of the scheme and how they can be effective each and every Sunday. So, this guy's just getting better. He's going to continue to get better. He's going to shatter every record in the record books from a mobile quarterback standpoint. So Cam and we really gonna have to look out if Lamar can stay healthy.
I'm gonna give Lamar an A, because Lamar was 16 of 27 for 186 yards and a touchdown. Because I know somebody got an A, Mike Vick.
That's funny.
Skip, what did I do? What am I talking? What? What? Skip, guys, look, Lamar, there's no question about his legs. He's probably going to be a guy, Mike, and as you mentioned, if he can stay healthy, he's probably going to rush for 7,000, 8,000 yards for a quarterback, and I don't believe that's going to be touched anytime soon. But in order for the Ravens to take the next step, he's going to have to become more proficient at throwing the football. And if we look at him come playoff time, Mike, it's always that aspect of his game that lets him down. He runs himself into a lot of problems when he doesn't have to run out of the pocket. Sometimes you need to step up, but it seems to me he's always looking to belly and either get left or get right. But the problem is with that, Mike, and you know this, playing the quarterback position, when you scramble to one side of the field, you've already reduced the other side of the field because you're not going to throw it all the way back across the field. So and sometimes, Lamar, you're going to need, instead of bellying, going left to right, step up in the pocket. You don't always have to try to use your speed, athleticism, to get round, because once you do that, you cut down on half the field. He can still get better. That's the aspect of the game I would like to see him get better at, and their throws that you see him make, like, okay. And then you come back the next time like, bruh, just slow it down. You got more time. I like to look at it like this. When you're on television and you're reading the prompter, the lady would always tell me, Shannon, you have more time than you think. Slow down. Lamar, you have more time than you think. Just slow it down. In order for the Ravens to get to where they need to be, he's going to have to become more proficient at throwing the football because his legs are there. He's a GOAT player with his legs. Now, if he can just get 70, 80% of that throwing to get with those legs, the Ravens are going to be tough to deal with.
You want to respond, Michael?
Yeah, in regards to what Shannon just said, I was thinking, for one, durability is going to be so important for Lamar. But what I was excited about yesterday at, one juncture of the game, late in the game, when the Eagles went for the 2-point conversion, and if they would have tied the game up, Lamar was going to have to go down the field in a 2-minute situation, and everything was going to have to come out, Shannon, the legs, the arm, because you just can't run. They wasn't going to let him just run down the field and run around the field and pick up first downs. Clock management was going to become important, playing the sideline and getting, to the chains, getting to the sticks and getting out of bounds was going to play a huge factor. And I wanted to see Lamar in that moment just to see if he made that progression from last year, because, that's the elephant in the room for Lamar. Can you finish? Can you run the 2-minute drill? Can you run it effectively, be efficient, and move the chains while you're doing it? So I wanted to see that. It didn't come to that point, but hopefully we'll get to see that at some point this season.
So, Michael Vick, I appreciate the humility with which you discuss this young man, because I know how much you like him, how much you've mentored him, how much you believe in him. And I love it. You're not at all threatened by him surpassing your records, because you've just sort of given up and given into it. This is just how good he's going to be. I want to defend what you had done at an early point in your career. You had gone to Lambeau Field and pulled off a win in a playoff game. And that's something Lamar has not yet done.
Nobody's ever done that before.
Hey, how great was that? And again, it wasn't like you threw for 1,000 yards, but you threw for 117 and ran for another, 64? And you won 27-7 at Lambeau in a playoff game. That was after which year? Your second year?
Second year.
Yeah, okay. So just to your credit, you did do that. Okay, to Shannon's point, I'm with Shannon on this one, because that's 4 straight games that Lamar has thrown for under 200 yards. And maybe that's sort of how he's going to win games, because for what it's worth, they're 5-1, and he's averaging 58 yards rushing a game, which is just 1 yard less than Kyler is at 59 yards a game. So he's 189 yards passing. But I want everybody to remember that as Michael Vick developed in this league, he had 12 games of 300-plus yards passing. He had 2 games, Michael Vick did, of 400-plus yards passing. I don't know if Lamar is capable of that. He is deadly accurate, as we saw. He only won the MVP last year.
Unanimous.
And he launched his year last year by throwing for 324 at 324 at the Dolphins.
Miami.
Okay, and they were woeful, but he shredded them. Okay, so just remember that back on November 15th of 2010 on Monday Night Football, Michael Vick just lit it up in a way I don't think anybody's ever lit it up on Monday Night Football. Do you remember that one, Shannon?
Yes.
No doubt.
Lord have mercy. He threw for 333 and 4 touchdowns against Washington. It was at Washington.
It was raining.
Yeah, and he ran for another 80 on 8 carries. And he ran for 2 more touchdowns. So it's 6 touchdowns. Again, off the chart performance. So Michael, can you see Lamar developing the ability to throw for 300 the way you did as your career began to mature?
Skip, I'll say this. That was in the latter years of my career. That was late. I had Andy.
Yep.
Andy was a passing guru, and
He
I
was
was super excited to just know that I had him as a play caller, and the Philadelphia Eagles had my back at the time. So my motivation was just through the roof, and it came from so many different areas. As I recollect back to when I was younger in Atlanta, I would love to try to go back and recount those days and see how many 300-yard passing games I had when I was running a West Coast system and just trying to cater to the system in whatever way I could. The system wasn't for me. I did the best that I could. But I will say this. I looked at Lamar's stats yesterday, and I glanced at the TV, and I remember telling my boy, Lamar's going to have to progress in the passing game. I seen he only threw for 160 yards, and I'm like, on average as a quarterback, you want to be 200-plus every game. If you pass for 180, you probably had a significant amount of rushing yards. I know, speaking for myself, and the total yards was up there, but you move the chains in the passing game. I always felt like running the football just took a lot of energy away from me.
Yep.
If I did it early in the season, later in the season, I felt the effects of it. And I just wanted Lamar to progress in that fashion so that, as time goes on, he becomes more of a threat passing, just like I know he can become as he is as a runner. And when that balances out, he'll be even scarier. So it's a lot of work to be done. And it's going to be a challenge because defenses are going to be expecting him to run and going to challenge him to pass. And this is where he has to make his progression known.
Mike, to your credit, the offense that you were in, I started my career in Dan Reeves' offense. It's not very quarterback friendly. They want you to run the football, and then they want you to work your magic at the end of the game to come back and win it. That's where Dan and John fell out at because he was watching all these other quarterbacks throw for 300 yards, and here he was throwing for 180 and rushing for 50, but they were winning. And Dan was like, I'm all about winning. And John's like, well, I see all these other quarterbacks that Dan Marino's throwing for 300 yards a game, and Jim Kelly and this one, Joe Montana. He's like, well, wait a minute. And that's what Dan's offense was. Dan was running the football, and then Michael, okay, we down 7. Okay, Mike, run around and make a play. Lamar, if you look at Lamar, Skip, you look at last year in the divisional game, he threw for over 300 yards, but they were meaningless.
Well, they fell behind 14-0, right, and then they were down like 28-6.
Right, and so in other words, he's going to have to be able to throw the ball in the confines of the offense when